Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock practicing necromancer. And tonight I want to kind of give some pointers to those who are beginning their ascent into making a practice a lifestyle. It doesn't matter what tradition you're in. By a year, maybe 2, 3 years of intense research study, maybe you've even begun putting a an altar together. Okay, perhaps you've even decided, I'm going to go out and get a cloak, I'm going to go get a ritual robes, you know to and go with it. You found your sacred space. You've decided, okay, I'm going to start picking up books, I'm going to start walking this tradition on a serious level. Okay, now I want you to think about what drew you to the particular path that you're about to undergo. Think of it as a spiritual journey, okay? One that where you're soul searching, you're physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually now invested in, okay, into your path. Doesn't matter if it's Satanism, doesn't matter if it's Wicca, paganism, even anything of the left hand path. You could even be a demonolator. Okay, it does not matter if it's voodoo, Santeria, Palo Mayumbi, whatever. Okay, you've made up your mind. I want to make this a full time gig. I want to make this a lifestyle. I want to get more serious into this tradition. I want to get personal. This is what we refer to as the adjustment period. Okay. Because from the time you picked up your first book on, say, oh, I don't know, let's go with Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, perhaps even the Wiccan Bible, or let's go with the Witch's Bible. Okay. Doesn't matter which path. Okay. It's interested you, it's caught your attention, and you kind of did a little dabbling throughout this time up until this point. That's okay. Everyone does it. Even I did it. And if somebody says that they never did that, then they're fucking lying to themselves, not just lying to you. Every tradition has a tryout period. Even the Celtic Golden Dawn has a system of a year and a day. This, you're studying for a period, a long period. This is an entire year of practicing that system. And then you have one day, just one, to where you get to reflect over that year. Is this the path I want to make a lifestyle on? Is this my career choice? Is this my period of spiritual awakening to where I want to pursue this seriously within a dedicated and committed fashion? That's where most people come to this area of thought of, okay, this is my path. I want to follow this path. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to give you a couple pointers. Okay. By now, you should have experimented. You've done a lot of experimenting. Maybe you've even joined a few Facebook groups. Maybe watch YouTube channels on Satanism. I know that's, or any branch of left hand path, be it African, Caribbean, European, American, Eastern, Western philosophies, whatever. It's a good thing. Okay. So now you want to get serious and start growing as an individual practitioner, a witch or a warlock. Okay. Now you're going to figure out, do I need to be initiated? First of all, don't believe the fucking hype. Okay. You do not need anybody, be it a temple, a church, or whatever, to initiate you. This is why the spirits of those traditions are the ones that initiate you within the spirit. Okay. And the reason for that is because it's that personal touch, it is a personal commitment. I'm not saying that you don't have to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars getting initiated into those systems. You can if you choose to, but that is your choice. Most systems, most books on any given topic comes with a diagram, how to make an altar. Look at the complete book of witchcraft by Raymond Buckland. I believe it's page 16, I think, if I remember correctly. He gives an exact dimension of how to make either a wooden altar or a stone altar. Okay? Go into Satanism, go into witchcraft. How many of these practices who put out Bibles, put out works, don't put in a solitary initiation period? Okay? A practice of solitary initiation into that tradition. Okay? Does not matter what tradition it is, they always have both a ceremonial, such as going into a coven, a temple, a church, and you are initiated through that church. The second aspect of that is a solitary initiation, basically as an opportunity of saying, hey, I know that you can't get to me or my temple, my church, whatever, but hey, here's something that you can do and follow and do from your own home, your own temple that you've erected. Now, think of it like this. Second of all, if you've already started working with spirits, be it the jinn, the devi, the demons, angels, the Orisha, the Loa, whatever spirits they are, most likely you've already taken a shine to a particular one, a particular entity. And the reason for that is because that entity has or represents something that connects to you. Okay. I had a brother by the name of John Saunders. He was the child of Maggot. Maggot was a very renowned demon in the Goetia. He related right to him. I related to Abaddon. And by that connection, through desire, through witchcraft, Astaroth. Okay? Astaroth is a Grand Duke. I related to him. Hands down. There was something about what he represented that interested me and intrigued me. Okay? You will come across that when working with any form of entity or spirits. It does not matter if you're working within a specific pantheon, be it, say, for an example, Anubis out of Egyptian, maybe Zeus out of Greek. Let's go with Helios out of Norse. Maybe even Kakashi the Deathless from Slavic witchcraft. Does not matter. What matters is that that being speaks to you on a personal level. So you want to make a a pact with that individual. You'd want to make up a personal pact and say, hey, you know, I'm interested in what you have to offer. Take me on as an apprentice. I have been on this path for, months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. It took me about 3 years to determine this is the path that I want to walk as a necromancer. Another 4 years dedicating myself to the path that I'm on. And that was after being a practicing Satanist for over 35 years. It will take time for you to find a lifestyle that fits you. I like where I'm at right now. I like the man that I become, the practitioner that I become, because I've grown and learned not just from the spirits that I work with, but also because I have good teachers, good guides. I have patrons, patronesses, legionnaires, teachers, guardians, and most importantly, I have physical teachers, okay, who are more experienced in the field that I'm on, okay? You will find this out as well. This is something that every practitioner goes through. So not only are you making an initiatory pact, but you're aligning yourself with that particular current by going to these spirits. It's a good thing, okay? And once you've come to terms with the field of study that you're on, I recommend going to your local Walmart, maybe Dollar Tree, Dollar General. There's all kinds of stores out there. Pick up one of these. Okay, this is just a regular school notebook, and the reason I chose this as an example is because of what you see when you first open it up. Okay, 7 days a week. Okay, you got the study, you got the studying of. Let me just turn that around here real fast. You got the subject matter, you have the room, and the instructor. Okay, for each day of the week. Okay. And the reason I like this is because each period that you are working on a particular subject, let's say, for an example, you're doing history. Okay. The history of, say, for example, necromancy from a perspective of, say, oh, I don't know, let's go with, let's go with alchemy. Okay. Alchemy uses everything from herbs, brush, trees, poisons, you name it, even berries, fruits, vegetables. Okay, things that you can take from the earth, not just break it down into its most basic component, but also add to it. Okay, so let's say, for an example, you want to make gopher powder, or say brimstone powder. Let's go with cursing powder. Let's go with voodoo zombie powder. Okay. First of all, you'd have to study what herbs do you need for that? What products do you need for this? Okay. So you would go into this class, you would set up this class for yourself. You would go out and you would get all kinds of books on, say, let's go with voodoo. Okay. Haitian voodoo. I love Haitian voodoo. I love working with Papa Gadi. Okay. And I love working with Baron Simadi. Love those two. But my favorite is the Petrol Spirits, the descent into the underworld. Hell, if you will. Gehenna. Love it. Love it. Okay. So, knowing this, I would watch all kinds of videos. I would watch everything from videos to typing it on Google, just trying to find every bit of information I can about voodoo zombie powder. Okay, zombie powder in general. How do you make it? What components and ingredients do I need to be able to make this? Okay, first of all, you notice that there are three main components: the gas of a toad, the excretion of poison from a tree frog, and most importantly, the gallbladder from a puffer fish. Okay. Outside of that, everything else included is unique to the unique practitioner. Okay. But how would you know that if you didn't do the research? Okay. So that would be in that one class. So let's go to a second class. Let's think of it as okay, let's go with let's go with let's go with ceremonial and personalized rituals, type practices. Okay. You'd be doing research from various different types of sorcery. What are the common tools that everybody has? What is the complete history of that class, of that particular path and those tools? For an example, the Athame can go back to the 16th century, even as far back as the 14th century, with a shark tooth Athame. Very well renowned, very selective. Not many people discuss that, where they take a shark's tooth and put it onto a stick, tie it to a stick, and you have a makeshift Athame. What about the creeds that you recite, the prayers over the altar? What is the dimension? What geographical shapes do you need? Is it a pentagram, an inverted pentagram, maybe the seal of manifestation? How about do you want a Nagunga? Do you want a cauldron? Do you need a cigar for power and authority? Spitting of alcohol. What kind of alcohol does the particular spirit or entity like? You know, do you need a lancet? For say for an example, or some say for an example, an athame that's sharp to draw blood. What finger do you need to draw that blood for an offering and a sacrifice? There's a lot of different factors that go into creation of an altar in a sacred space. Okay. So you would have to go into a lot of different areas just to learn about what you do. In 7 years, I have at least 7 to 9 essays, 7 of which I've already finished. 4 of those were published. One of those was 2 essays rolled into one. And that was over a course of 7 years. That's 4,000 plus words in each one. That's 7 to 10 pages just typed up on a particular topic. Okay. So something like this will help you keep track of your studies, your practices, and the courses that you are putting forth for yourself. Outside of this, I would recommend a dream journal. I would recommend a ritual journal, a book of shadows, if you will, also known as a black book. Okay, and a black book is one of those books that is the primary book for your practice, one that remains on your altar. Okay, a book of shadows is just a copy of that book. Okay, and it's something you can easily destroy because you already have a primary book. Okay, so right there you have the black book and you have a dream journal. The dream journal is something that you could utilize to keep track of your dreams, your the way your how should I say this, your subconscious mind is processing a ritual. Maybe it's a specific problem that you're finding through the creation of an elixir, perhaps creation of a ritual. Whatever the topic is, your mind is processing it while you're in the Z state of slumber. Okay. So a dream journal is something that will help you with that. A ritual journal is where you record everything, your thoughts, your practices of what you're doing. Now, this is different from your book of shadows. Okay. The Book of Shadows is where you apply the finished product. The ritual journal is where you're going to be writing everything from start to finish. When you go into that temple, that ritual space, you're going to be writing down what you did. What did you observe? What did you sense? Was there something that was lacking? Was there something that just didn't work? I can tell you that I've gone in to my own temple and I've had things I've had things planned right out and it just does not go according to plan. I've had things where the incense smoke, the charcoal smoke, and the oils that I place on the candles stay dead center. They always stay within the circle. Okay? The circle of empowerment, not a circle of protection. Keep those two separate because they are separate. If you want protection, you're going to need to look up protective seals. If you want to do ceremonial magic, physical magic, then you're going to have to look up circles of empowerment, things that will help you to invoke and evoke a spirit, entity, or just bring forth your ancestral lineage that has done witchcraft in the past. Either way, know the difference between them. So I would go in and I would start, and all of a sudden I realize something's not right. Something is not right. So I write that in at that point in my journal and go, hey, there's something here that's not right. I need to figure this out. What is it? But I would continue on with what my plan was. Now, every so often, it could be your patron or patroness sitting there going, hey, why don't you try this? I did a curse one time. It took me about 3 weeks because I did it daily. And a lot of those days were at night. Okay. So I had already gone almost a week. And I had the feeling, add this stuff. Put this with this. Ended up with a curse jar. And then I thought by week 2, there's something still missing. What is it? And I got this feeling. And all of a sudden I started having images come to me while in meditation. When I was sleeping. I ended up getting a box and making it into a Dybbuk box. Okay. And I put everything together, charged it, cleansed it, the whole kink-a-boodle, put it in for the specific intention that I was going for. And everything clicked. Right up until the disposal. Yeah. Every time I tried disposing it of that item, after everything was in, I sealed it up, put warnings and warnings saying, hey, don't fuck with this, type thing. I went out, I tried burying it. I couldn't do that because of the people. I went to a cemetery to try to bury it in the cemetery. Couldn't do it. I finally was just driving home. I had said, fuck it. And I ended up going down to the river and tossing it in. Why? Because water is not just a cleansing, but it is also a destroying agent. And the good thing is that box no longer will see the light of day and nobody's going to fuck with it because the current took it right out into the ocean. So right there, you can see what I mean by things not going according to plan, that something's going to change during a ritual. And that's why it's important to have a ritual journal. So you have a black book, a BOS, a dream journal, and a ritual journal. Okay, all of these are important. All right, so that's something that I would recommend for you as well. Now, on top of that, if you're going to make a lifestyle, I would create a sacred space, or let's say, for example, a particular room. Let's say, for an example, you're single, you live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Okay. One bedroom is where you slumber. So you don't have anybody that comes and rents that second bedroom or stays at that second bedroom. Why don't you make that into an altar room? If you have a walk-in closet and you're in a 1 bedroom, utilize that walk-in closet. It's great, especially if it's got that long corridor inside of it. You can put the altar down at the end or on a big section. As soon as you walk in, it's on your left or the right, whatever. And then you just keep the door closed, put some curtains over the door. It's pitch black. Okay. It's almost like how should I say this? A deprivation chamber, if you will. No oxygen in, no oxygen out. Okay. So, but with a bedroom, you got to cover up the windows. You got to keep it covered up because you don't want that light coming in. You don't want the daylight coming into that ritual room unless you're working a more white light tradition. Okay. It, like, again, it doesn't matter what tradition you're on. Santeria, they always, utilize a room specifically for healing, or say, for an example, cleansing rites. That's a great place for it. Even if you want to have a place like a chair off in the corner with a desk, you could set it up with, a place for study and practice where you can just get into your world, submerge yourself into that world. Great for it. Okay. Now, if you're into the darker aspects, like say Satanism, maybe Paleo Mayumbi, you might want to go into, let's go, even demonolatry. Paint the windows. Nowadays, you can go into a store and you can get that vinyl stuff, the dark and the window tint stuff, where you can tint the windows so the light cannot go through, and then just put a curtain down and close it, the curtains. Get black curtains. On the walls, you can put tapestries up. You can have an altar, dedicated specifically to the god or demons that you work with. But you'd want to set it up dedicated and committed to that current that you work. Okay. That's what I would recommend to you. And these tips will benefit you in the long run because when you get into a routine and you've made it your life, I, as a necromancer, I watch what I put into my body. Okay. Especially since I fast a lot. I have to be careful not to contaminate my body because it will affect not just my overall health, but it will also affect my work as a necromancer. Now, keep in mind, I also walk the path of lichdom. Okay, so I'm working with tools such as transfiguration, transmutation, transmortification processes. Okay, I'm working with the death essence in general. Knowing the history of chemomancy, knowing the history of vampirism, knowing the history of necromantic rites, and working with death in general, you're doing research into this. You're delving into that world. So you'd want to strengthen your body, not just mentally preparing yourself, emotionally and spiritually as well. The first time I ever did a fast, it was bad. It I I'm going to tell you right now that was the most brutal month of my life. I have never fasted before because I always indulged because like I said I was a practicing Satanist for 30 years, 35 years. Okay? So I never fasted. I indulged in everything. So when it was put forth that I needed to fast for that month and it was a challenge, I didn't know what fasting was or why people did it. I knew Christians did it. I knew Baptists did it. They did the Daniel's fast. I didn't know about the milk fast. I didn't know about the Kedah fast. I didn't know about the black fast. The purpose of it and what the outcome would be until the following year when I started doing it again. each year, I did it, and I did it for the entire month. But I started slowly realizing that you need to do it in stages, putting it about a month beforehand and kind of just cut back on what you're eating. Now, understanding what fasting does for the body, it is something that cleanses the body, but think of it like a reset button. Okay. Let's say, for an example, you have issues with acid reflux or digestive issues. Okay. Perhaps you have migraines a lot, headaches. Now look at the foods and the drinks that you put into your body. Okay. This is something that will affect you. Trust me. Working for Dunkin' Donuts, there's a little joke. It's a coffee shop slash restaurant, so it's fast food. So the funny thing is that we have a little joke that Dunkin' Donuts is a legal drug dealer because some of our customers act like it's the end of the fucking world because, say, the quantity is off by, like, say, 2 pumps of liquid cane sugar, or just uh, 2 buttons of granulated sugar. Same thing with the creamer, or the it was just wasn't stirred correctly, or you know they said large and we ended up making mediums because we can't hear over the noise in the facility. Okay, so the way they act, it's almost like coming down and needing an actual fix. Okay, from a drug, from a narcotic. And so there's a little joke that says we're the legal drug dealers of the country. And that's basically, if you think about it, what it is. It's like going to Wall Street and seeing how greedy these people are, looking at banks and how they're so stern and stingy with giving you loans. The exact same thing, but in a different manner. So fasting doesn't just cleanse your body, it resets certain let's call it dysfunction, with disturbances within your system. Okay, so it literally resets like an easy button, if you will. So that helps a lot, and it also helps you align with the current and the spirits that you work with even more, which is awesome. Okay, so like I said, it's been about what has it been now, about 7.5 years, I think, since I first decided to follow necromancy full, not full time, but delving back into it in about 4 years, 4.5 years since I officially said, hey, I'm walking away from Satanism. I'm now a necromancer full time. And a couple years back, about a year or so ago, about a year, it's been now, this is 7th month. So yeah, about a year and 6.5 months ago, I started a spiritual journey. Best thing I ever did. And the reason I recommend spiritual journeys to you is because it not only gives you the time that you need to delve back into spiritual aspects, but also allows you to delve head or face first and with a big old belly flop into research. It's a great time for reflection. It is a great time to do all aspects that you need to be doing. I do recommend all of this to you. And these are great tips that will benefit you in the long run. And I did see your post come in earlier, Jesse. Um, and you're welcome. One of the things that I do believe in is that without education, you cannot grow. And in the tradition that I walk, there's one thing that's put forth, and it is nothing will be held back from those who truly, earnestly are seeking education or enlightenment in that case. And the reason for that is because those of us who are more experienced and those who are just beginning, we can guide you to certain things and give you tips that will help so that it will cut down on errors and trials, if you will. But we also have a saying that without trials and hardships, there cannot be any growth. So keep that in mind as well. And if you're going to walk the path of a necromancer, keep in mind that you will be solitary. And I am not joking. You will be solitary, just like you would be with as a Satanist. But if you're going to follow Satanism, we keep in mind that it is about you and your practice and where you take it. Witchcraft, um, that's just overall solitary practices worldwide, no matter what system or school of thought. Now, as I said in my last video, there really is no schools unless you're following Nordic traditions, such as the Roskilde, for an example, that was broken down into two different thought forms of schools. And now you have Western and Eastern philosophies. You got temples that are putting out schools and everything. So, and now everything's become politicalized and legalized, and you got different aspects of religious wars and stuff like that for segregation. Personally, I would just tell you in that case, stay out of it. Just don't bother getting into temples, don't get into churches, unless it has a great reputation and can prove and back up that they've been around for a very, very long time. For an example, the one that I work with and that I'm associated with goes back to the 14th century. Okay, and they can literally back it up. The work, doing the rites from that type of this path, it's very potent, very beneficial, and it works. So I found this out by delving into the work, putting the work and the effort in. I can't tell you how many hours and blood and sweat that I poured into doing the rites and rituals. Working with just my patroness, spent an entire year. And I can tell you, just with that one being, that one entity, listening to what she had to say, listening to and how she was guiding me. When I went to her and said, "Hey, I need help with this. What can you help me out with this? And in return, I will do something for you in return." Within a year of working with that one spirit, I watched everybody more advanced than me just get up and walk out of the workplace. They put their 2 weeks in, quit, or terminated, whatever. They were just gone. They left. And then all of a sudden, I said, "Hey, I'd like to know what it's like to be a shift leader, a junior manager. What can I do to get into this position? In fact, what can you do to open doors so that I can do this? In return, I will do something for you." It's like give and take when working with a spirit or entity. So all of a sudden, I ended up becoming a manager, a shift leader. It wasn't very long, about a week, but I got that understanding, that gnosis. It was very fruitful and beneficial to me. Even when I said I want to do this, put me in that position. That job came to an end, and I started a whole new job. A year later, I'm now working with the competitor of the first job. But here's the kicker: the employees, they don't look to upper management for guidance, knowledge, or anything, because upper management doesn't communicate. They would rather bring somebody in from a different company and give them a management position than to actually promote from within. But here's the kicker: all the employees come to me. Me. In the last year, in 7 months, we have watched so many employees come and go. We've had over just about a dozen general managers. We've had at least 3 to 5 assistant general managers. I can't tell you how many shift leaders have just gotten promoted, and then just left in a year and 7 months. Had a general manager. This guy started out as a shift leader, used to work for McDonald's. Came in, worked his way up to general manager. All of a sudden, stepped down to AGM. Now he's gone, working for another owner. A district manager. Started out AGM, worked her way up to district manager. Guess what? Barely see her unless we need something. And normally I'm the one reaching out and saying, hey, we need this at this particular store. Oh, I'll bring it. But she'll just send somebody else with it. Wow. Okay. But you see how these spirits work behind the doors, behind closed doors. You don't see what they're doing, but you feel it because you've gotten close to the current. You've become sensitive to that current. You've become sensitive to the energies of these beings. This year, I'm working with a different being, but also working with that same being. And it's awesome. I've watched how my life has benefited because I listen to my elders. I listen to the guides, my patrons and patronesses. I listen to the Legionnaires when they come and say, hey, I need you to do this. In return, I will do this for you. Even some of these spirits are looking for redemption. You can utilize them, give them an opportunity to redeem themselves. Same exact thing, but it's a learning curve. And it starts with something like this. It starts with that. All these tips, my personal story, it will benefit you. All right. With that said, I'm going to get off here. I want to thank Jesse for jumping on here, communing with me. For those of you who are or have been following, thank you. For those of you jumping in that like what you hear and like what you see, feel free to hit that notification button. Subscribe. No one's, going to twist your arm. I don't give two shits about the what do they call that? That little programming thing that YouTube does to keep you popular. I really don't care about being popular. If you like, I'm an educator. This is what I do. I'm not just a practitioner. I back up what I preach, and I always make myself available to the public. All right. With that said, have a good night, and until next time, I'm out.